145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to that. We were talking about fentanyl, where, various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
The economic whiplash continues. President Trump indicated Wednesday he may cut tariffs levied against China.
The president met with economic advisors and business leaders this week who warned him that the sky-high 145% tax import will disrupt supply chains and could lead to empty store shelves.
The Wall Street Journal reports the administration is considering plans to cut tariffs as low as 50 to 65%, more than half of what they currently are. The administration added that Trump would need to see action from China before he could lower the tariffs further.
Meantime, the president also seems to be listening to pleas from his advisors to ease his criticism of the Federal Reserve. Yesterday, he contradicted reports that he wanted to fire Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell. Take a look.
The press runs away with things. No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No. It's not, but it would be good timing.
So some interesting economic developments. I am, our viewers know, not a fan of tariffs in general, and was pretty horrified, as were the markets, when all of those crushing tariffs got put in place. But it seems like cooler heads have prevailed, and the Trump administration is stepping back from that, and not just reducing the tariffs everywhere else, but even talking to China about getting rid of those. So I think that's a great win for the American people in terms of price being low, and I'm glad that they're hammering these things out. I think it's important to continue to be wary of China as a global rival, as a national security issue. I don't know that all of our most vital, computer chip type stuff needs to be produced in the Chinese sphere, even if that is cheaper, because, what if it comes to conflict? But other than that, engagement is the best strategy, and it's always good to talk to leaders of other countries, even if they're rival countries. So I am mostly pleased by this news, I think.
So I saw a ton of reports last night that China is mocking the U.S. So all over their social media, they are saying chicken, Trump is chicken, he's so scared. Like, they know that he backed out, basically. The two leaders came to a head. Trump kept saying constantly, yes, we're having conversations. She is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like a standstill. And I think we're getting mocked globally because of these numbers that kept rising but meant absolutely nothing, as we see. So I think that this whole strategy has been 3 Ds: detrimental, dumb, and disorganized. And I think that that's important because no one knows what's going on. The strategy, like you said, of reducing our dependence on foreign nation is key and paramount and important. But the way that we went about it, no one agrees with, especially in this economy where people are already uncertain and unsure about what's next, but then also can't buy things that range from electric parts, car parts, to hair supplies. And that's what's happening right now.
Well, if they're making fun of Trump on Chinese social media, that's fine. They're not allowed to make fun of Xi Jinping on Chinese social media because the Chinese government is authoritarian and repressive and censors all criticism of its regime.
You're not going to hear me defending the Chinese
images of
government.
Winnie the Pooh because he has this idea that Winnie the Pooh looks like him. Have you heard that? It's very funny. That so. The fact that, so I don't know that the social media is, my point being, is characteristic of how the Chinese people feel about anything, because they're afraid to speak up, and if they do speak up, they're,
But why did it take this much? Like, CEOs had to come to the White House and say, look at our shelves. This is what our shelves will be if you don't cooperate. I mean, he's been avoiding and basically ignoring business leaders, financial experts, people that have a little bit more knowledge about our global economy than he does, right? He operated during the pandemic. Wasn't that great? Yes, he handed out stimulus checks, but we also know that
I didn't like that either.
Right. So we understand that maybe there are people that are better with the economy, and he needs to listen to them. And so what we see now is somebody who wasn't listening and causing chaos, and then also trying to be the problem solver. What bothers me is that if you cause the drama and then try to be the one to say, oh, I figured this out, that's kind of ridiculous, because we were fine and better. Even the stock markets were better a few months ago. So why do all this?
Look, I've said this before. This is my least favorite of basically all Trump's policies. In fact, I consider tariffs tariffs to be essentially a progressive or democratic policy. And in fact, Biden did keep in place many of the tariffs that Trump initiated the first time around. So I guess that's my question to you. How are the Democrats supposed to be responding? To me, they've responded in a mixture of ways, mostly by being against them, which again, I think it's correct to be against them. But then, for instance, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of my former home state of Michigan, saying, well, I don't want to come out too hard against them because I think tariffs do have a role. Elizabeth Warren has said tariffs do have a role. To my mind, Democrats don't quite know what to do because some of them like tariff policies. So how are they, and how should they be responding to this?
Well, I think the note is that we're all on the same page, like stepping away from foreign dependence, but the strategy is a mess. And so I think Democrats can say there was a way better way to go about this than Trump's go-to, which is trying to bully people. That's not effective. And so that's why we're here, because he met his match, right?
Well, was reciprocal tariffs really bullying, saying if you're going to tariff us, we're going to tariff you the same?
Well,
who starts, that's just self-defense.
He got to the point of 145%, and the Chinese government basically said, we're going to stop here. This is silly. Again, another joke. Like, you're not even being serious with the tariffs, right? And then you're also he treated in the beginning a lot of our actual allies just like they were China, who's not an ally. So, he was taxing them so high and then decided to bring it down temporarily, but is also claiming to have made agreements with all these other nations, and we don't have any of that on paper. And these things take months, but he's saying in a couple weeks it'll all be done. So everything is hearsay. And what I know is that polls came out about how he's doing these first 4 months, and his approval rating right now, and this is Fox giving these polls yesterday, which we know they're fans of his, are saying he's at around 44% for overall job that he's doing, which is some of the lowest since George W. Bush of any recent president in the 4-month term. And so I think people are not happy. That's obvious from people that like him reporting and telling the news that
I'll just say that I don't know why trade negotiations, I heard this as well, reported that this takes months and months and months. I don't know why it should take so long. Here I am negotiating what the trade policy should be. We will have free and unrestricted trade with you. You will have free and unrestricted trade with us. Done. That should be the agreement. There's no details to hammer out. The government will not be involved in you trading. They will be for firms to reach exchanges with firms in other places. I'm a buyer, you're a seller. Let's make it happen, baby. That's the trade policy. Government doesn't have to make it any more complicated than that.
Yeah,
free trade, not managed trade.
And I think that there's nuance there, right? It's easy to say, but then just like Trump, he does a lot of saying, right? It's easy to say, make an announcement, but it's hard to follow through with the plans. And so getting into the nitty gritty and making sure that everything is aligned so both nations are comfortable. I mean, China's not just going to be like, sure, whatever you want to do. Like, that's not even how they lead their country, as you said. Barely can use the internet in the way that they want to.
Have you ever played, because you surprised me earlier by having an awareness of Star Wars, have you ever played the game Settlers of Catan?
No, I've heard of it, though.
It's a really fun trade-based board game. Again, our trade policy can be as simple as this. I have 2 wheat. You have a sheep and a wood.
Oh, gosh.
I will trade my 2 sheep for your wheat and a wood, and I will be able to build a settlement, and you'll be able to build a road or whatever it is, and we both benefit. It doesn't need to be more complicated. They're making it more
complicated. But a better strategy to create an environment where we're dependent on the U.S. much more with a lot of the production and things that we trade other countries for would be to start to create pathways to get to that goal. And that's what we're not doing. We're arguing about why we're buying so much abroad instead of looking at how to bring the manufacturing industry back to Detroit properly. These are just silly arguments when the real issue is create the jobs here, make it affordable for us to buy in our own vicinity. It's all good. And, that's the solution to me. And I think you can't do one without the other.
Up next, raising taxes for the wealthy. Oh my, we will discuss. Stay tuned.